stay fly, stay fly.
If you don't take it and you get hit with a more potent version of this virus, which you just brought up.
Yeah, so like I was saying,
it could be far more deadly if you avoid taking it.
There's no record in history of anything coming from animals, from bats, from monkeys, from pigs.
It seemed like it was impacting certain groups first.
Yeah, so like I was saying,
and now it seems like it's impacting.
You're listening to the Fly Guy Show. They do everything on the fly and in such a fly manner. Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
The views expressed by the guests are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree, unless explicitly stated.
Hey, this is Ernie Thomas here on the Volt School Podcast. You're listening to Psycho Vonner's Fly Guy Podcast. Support, like, subscribe, and share. He's saying some good things. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself.
All right. Peace, beloved. Peace, beloved. It's Seiko Vonner, one of the Fly Guys, with my fly brethren, DJ Wright. And we're honored to have with us on the show today, Brother T. West from Afrisynergy News. So let me give a little context. DJ Wright is a COVID-19 survivor. He survived the coronavirus. He was in our prayers, our well wishes.
Thank you, buddy.
He pulled through like a champ, like the Hamptonian champ he is. And we've done a series of live conversations about his experience and coronavirus. And today we're going to do something different. You asked the question, Jay, why are we dying the most?
Yeah, and I mean, it's as someone that got hit with it, I mean, it made me wonder, is there a particular reason why I'm catching this and why I'm getting hit so hard compared to other ethnic races and other cultures? So we're going to explore that today. I did plan on having some medical professionals on this particular broadcast, but what we're going to do is we're going to record this segment. I'm going to share it with the other medical professionals that have been extremely helpful throughout all the talk shows that we've been doing, and get them to comment later on future broadcasts.
Excellent. That sounds great. Well, we're also honored to have Brother T. West from Afrisynergy News. And T. West has been doing a series of exposés on COVID-19, really since maybe February. Can we go back that far?
Yes, definitely since late February. Yes.
Right. So he's been on the pulse of things since late February. So, Brother T. West, why do you think, peace, Clarence Dunn. So we want to shout out the people. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the chat, and T. West and Jay and I will do our best to provide you with clarity, some information, or direction. So T. West, man, why do you think that people of African descent seem to be suffering in disproportionate rates here in the United States of America?
Well, there are a number of reasons why. First and foremost is that we're dealing with a biological weapon, not something that was that came out of nature through natural evolutionary processes. This was brought about through what in the biomedical industry they call gain of function, where you have an animal virus that is taken into a laboratory and is experimented on. It's mixed in with human DNA, and I call it a Frankensteinian virus, where they've given more potency to it. These things never, ever, there's no record in history of anything coming from animals, from bats, from monkeys, from pigs, geese, etc., chickens, coming from an animal and then threatening a worldwide pandemic. There's nothing on record. It doesn't exist. That does not happen. This only started happening in the 1960s when in the medical area, where they gained the ability of being able to produce what we call retroviruses. And that is where you mix in animal virus with human DNA and you create viruses that have a great, strong potency to it. And now we have the threat of a pandemic. And then, not to mention, this was not the first time. HIV, AIDS, that was also one of the first that was produced. You had the World Health Organization that was vaccinating men, women, and children in Central Africa. Millions of them contracted HIV from that. So anytime you weaken the immune system with something, later on in the future, like right now, the future now being versus 1980s, you have enabled COVID-19 to more easily attack that group of people. Now, worldwide, because blacks were a primary target with HIV, worldwide, at least 80% or more of those who were hit or struck by HIV/AIDS were black. And this was largely due to the World Health Organization. And then here in the United States, you also have the Center for Disease Control, National Institute of Health. You have that. And then in addition to that, you have situations where lots of African Americans are already affected by certain things, high blood pressure, various
diabetes,
things, diabetes, etc. You have all of that, so you are more easily attacked by pathogens such as SARS-2, and that was the original name it was coined under in 2015 when it was produced at a biomedical lab at Chapel Hill University in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Not Wuhan, China, but right here in the United States of America. So those are some of the reasons why it's more easily targeted at African Americans in this country.
I tell you, T. West, man, of course, I've been watching your channel for a while, and you come with receipts. But this seems just so far separated from what we're hearing on the news. And Jay, you're a survivor. Is this the type of information that people were sharing with you as you were? And when you, I'm sure you asked the question, why did this happen to me?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I don't disagree with what he's saying. I don't have the references or proof or medical background to tell whether it is engineered or not. I have talked to some folks who are in the medical profession, and they too believe that it is medically engineered. Not all, I would say it's probably 50-50 that it's medically engineered. I do want to share some insight on just my personal experiences, why I think some people of color, and I'm not just limiting it to just us, but just any person of color, Latinos, blacks. I just got a job at a major delivery company this past weekend. And, you know, my first day on the job, I noticed that I don't look like by my rough estimate, about 80-90% of the folks that were working there were folks of color. Now, obviously, when you work for a delivery company, you're dealing with a lot of packages, and a lot of those packages are. Oh, I hear what you're saying. But it has nothing to do with mainstream media. I'm talking about my own personal experience. Okay, so a lot of these packages are handled by a lot of different hands. So it would behoove me to think in that particular scenario, I don't think it was necessarily a conspiracy to hire people of color for this job. It's just the way that it is. In this one scenario, a lot of people of color had their different hands on different packages. We were wearing safety gear, the masks and whatnot. But in that scenario, it's quite easy for many people of color to catch the virus. Also, your living conditions could have something to do with it. And I'm not dispelling anything that he's saying. I'm just saying that in certain economic situations, like if you live in a house, like I live by myself, but if I lived in a house and I had to live with more people, that increases more chances for you to be exposed, to the virus. Now, is somebody, driving through the neighborhood perhaps and spreading the virus? I can't say one way or the other. But I do feel that because of underlying health conditions, that it did hit me harder than it did other folks of other races.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Hispanics here in America, and Hispanic can be of any ethnicity and color, but primarily they're not black, primarily in America. Now, but they live together far more than African Americans, but their rate in proportion to their percentage of population is not as adversely affected as African Americans. So, but Jay, you're correct about, proximity, who you're around, all of that, because, like any influenza, anything that you can catch through the air, you're going to get it. You can potentially get it or contract it when you're in close vicinity with other people. But if we looked at Hispanics versus African Americans, very often they will live, many of them, in a house together. Now, not all Hispanics live that way, but a lot of them do, much more than African Americans. And also various types of jobs. Meatpacking jobs across the country, you see a lot of Hispanics there. You see some African Americans, but you see a lot of Hispanics. And in meatpacking jobs, this is just one example, you're working in close proximity to each other. So, and the closer you are with this influenza, with this COVID-19, the more easy it is for you to become infected. But I just wanted to make that comparison right there, because when you start looking for answers and you start asking the questions why, you have to exhaust every possibility out there.
I agree. So the fact that we know that so the going with your I guess theory in this case and your research, the fact that we know that it is engineered based on your experience, in which the question is there a different approach as compared to it being coming from nature? Is there any different approach that we should look at?
Well, I think if I understand your question correctly, it is there, we got two schools of thought as to how it came to be.
Yeah.
One of them is zoonotic, meaning that it jumped from animal to humans. That's one. Number two is that it's a bioweapon that was created in a laboratory. Okay? Well, I guess you could say that there's a number three also, maybe. You could say, well, it was accidentally produced in a laboratory. That theory's out there. That's out there. But when you look at the 2015 report from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, that program that was under Dr. Barrick there, they actually they manufactured SARS-2 that has the same characteristics of what we now have rebranded as COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2, okay? Uh-huh. It's the same thing. The characteristics, too. Here they are. The first characteristic is that it kills. Okay, it kills people. That's the first one. The second characteristic is that it spreads from person to person. Okay, so that means that it's doing the same thing as this COVID-19 is doing right now. It was doing it, and they stated it in 2015 in that Chapel Hill article in North Carolina. So I hope I understood your question correctly there, Jay.
Well, basically, I would just to summarize it. Do you think there should be a different approach, whether it's man-made or not man-made? I mean, it's here now. We got to deal with it. Does it make a difference whether it's man-made or not man-made?
Yes, there should be a different approach from the standpoint if it's been created by humans. There should be one different approach. You should go after the ones who are behind it. Okay?
Do that. I mean, there have been so many conspiracies from 9/11 to everything. And let's just take 9/11, for example. We were of the understanding that was a conspiracy in a lot of ways. Those people, whoever was involved with it, how do we go after them? I mean, do we send them our medical bills? I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here.
And that's good. That's good. Well, first of all, this is a competition for the hearts and minds of the people. So if mainstream media is projecting, for example, you mentioned the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
If mainstream media is projecting and saying, and their narration was that this was an attack that was carried out by Osama bin Laden, who's hiding out in a cave over in Afghanistan. And when he learned about it, he was surprised. Okay. But that's the narrative, that Osama bin Laden did it. He was behind it. However, when you start looking at it and you start educating the people, the listeners, on another way of looking at it, for example, mainstream media will now come out and say, and really ask the question, with 9/11, why did building number 7 of the trade towers, that 47-story building, why did that building come crashing down like a pancake? Just crashing down like this. Why? No plane struck it. Okay? And we know in demolition that you cannot bring a building down like that unless you have prepared for that type of demolition for weeks, if not months. Okay? So there's an example with the 9/11. Right. So you're competing with mainstream media. Mainstream media's narrative is that this was done by some man with a long beard hiding out in a cave in Afghanistan, killing 3,000 Americans. Okay? Now, so you can attack it from that standpoint. Now, when you start looking at it from that standpoint, then it moves from a theory to, wait a minute, let's look at the facts. Let's ask questions about the facts. Okay? With 9/11, that building should not have come down. That third plane that was taken down in Pennsylvania was the third plane that was supposed to have hit that building number 7, that tower. But it never made it to that tower because it was brought down by the passengers. So now let's bring it back to this SARS-2, this coronavirus.
Okay.
When you look at what mainstream media is saying, mainstream media is not saying that this is a bioweapon. Mainstream media is not saying that this was produced in a laboratory, okay, and then targeted at humans. Mainstream media is not saying that. So those of us who are saying this, we then have to come with the facts. And one question would be, when have it been proven that any virus, you can talk about any virus in history, swine flu, any of them, when has it ever been shown that a virus jumped from a pig? They produced that pig and they produced that human that virus jumped from. In other words, the two culprits, the human and the animal, they've never produced it. It's only theory. None of it is fact. It's not science. It's quackery. Okay? They haven't proven it. But they have proven that they can manufacture it in a laboratory. That's been proven. So science says you have to look at facts. Okay? And when if you have something that you're calling science, when that is superseded by something else that disproves it. That which was science yesterday is no longer science because it has been replaced by a more perfect model.
Okay, interesting. All right, so that leads us to the question: if it was manufactured or if it, actually stemmed from animals first. At the very beginning of this pandemic, before it was even called a pandemic, it seemed like it was impacting certain groups first. And now it seems like it's impacting other groups. Am I wrong? Or were the numbers wrong? Or was the reporting wrong? It just seems to me, based on what I've seen in the news, it started off impacting one group or two groups, and now it's impacting us in larger numbers that impacted the other groups.
It always did impact you. See what you're basing that information on is what media wrote, what mainstream media said. Okay, and then as time goes on, you began to see the more accurate picture. It always was affecting African Americans here in the United States. Always was. I did a program about how in 2019 this was spreading in America. This coronavirus, it was spreading in America. You had people in the Seattle area who had it. Okay. And it showed in a test that they had been conducting where they were taking samples of people with influenza for a year in 2019 in Seattle area. And some of those people, when they went back and looked at it, some of those people, they had the coronavirus. So it was already affecting Americans, regardless of your color, and it definitely was affecting blacks more. It was affecting Americans here in America before it was announced in Wuhan, China. Now, what the Center for Disease Control and FDA did in 2019, they started blaming some of those deaths with the same lung condition that's being caught, that coronavirus is causing in people. They blamed it on vaping, e-cigarettes. But the United States was the only government in the world that said that in 2019. No other government said anything about e-cigarettes and vaping and it creating that situation with your lungs. Look where it looks like your lung had been just hit with a bunch of small miniature grenades. No other nation has said that. Only here in the United States. But they blamed it, CDC and FDA, Food and Drug Administration, blamed it on vaping here in the United States. So, it was already happening right here in the United States. It was already affecting various groups of people here in the United States. But, the old saying, when white folks get a cold, black folks get pneumonia. Okay? Especially those blacks who are not taking care of themselves. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, some have genetic issues too.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. You're right. Now, one thing that, a lot of folks of influence, rappers and whatnot early on in this pandemic were basically sharing that we were immune to this. Now, these people are social influencers and people are listening to these social influencers. I'm not going to name any specific names. We know the shopping list of folks who were saying that. Do you think that could have led to this increase in our people catching it? Also, I'm speaking third person from another nurse who has been working in Brooklyn, one of the hardest hit areas. And she said, and I'm paraphrasing her, but basically quoting her, that unfortunately what she was finding that our people were not listening. Blacks and Latinos were not listening to the social distancing guidelines. We were still having parties, still going to visit our relatives. I can speak personally from my experience with, my mother and my family. I've stayed completely clear of my family. They're about 45 minutes north of me in Rockland County. And, because I, A, knew I had it, and also B, I knew that I could possibly spread the disease to my mother, who's elderly, and also my sister, who has young kids. Now, even then up there, I was finding, checking in with my mom and family that they weren't really properly social distancing. Now, the kids weren't coming into her house, but I mean, she's about 80 years old, and she had the younger kids coming by, dropping off stuff. Now, obviously, if it's something pertinent, fine, but it was things that I kind of considered as not essential materials, and just more so her wanting to have some company, which is nice, but still just as dangerous. But I guess I'm just kind of throwing you a long question there, but what are your thoughts on that and how that might have impacted the spread between us?
Well, your behavior affects you. Even before coronavirus, your behavior affects you. I mean, there are certain things, before there was HIV/AIDS, of course you had gonorrhea, syphilis, and you had other sexually transmitted diseases. Now, if you're a man and, hey, you were willing to go out there and play Russian roulette, sex it up with protection, and even sometimes the protection can fail. Okay, if you were willing to do that, then you're taking chances. So in a situation like that, the odds of you catching a venereal disease, it goes up. Okay, the same thing with coronavirus. If you're running around with individuals who might have a high infection rate with coronavirus, the odds will go up that you're going to become infected. It was not just a situation with African Americans. You had the same thing with other groups. You had white folks on the beach. They're in Florida. They're out there in the thousands. They know about coronavirus, but it's like, no, we want to have a good time on the beach. We want to party. Okay? All right. So you have that. So you have to be cognizant of your own personal behavior for your own safety and also for the safety of other people. But at the same time, and I want to stress this, there's also a lots of hype happening with this. Okay? It's a very serious matter, but there's also an inflating of the numbers in certain locales in the United States. You have that going on also. So that's why it's important to have the maximum amount of information that you can get about this, because it was planned. This was planned. What did Fauci say in 2017? Anthony Deep State Fauci, he said, there will be a surprise pandemic in this administration. He said it. That's just a fact. So he knew. More than Fauci knew this. You had Bill Ryan 10 years ago. China, we're going to give China a cold. We're going to give them influenza. We're going to give them the coronavirus. That's what we're going to do. So these things are clear. So your behavior, it really matters. And this killer, it really don't care what age you are. I mean, every day you're finding, almost every week, I should say, you're finding out something new about this, about how it's affecting children, okay? About how it's affecting middle-aged people, not just older people. Some older people, my mother is 93, but some older people, they'll walk right through it like, hey, nothing, hey, it's nothing, okay? They'll just continue to go. But other people, it'll knock them on their backs. It'll kill them.
Yeah, and I think the fact that this virus varies, the outcome varies so much from mild to severe to deadly. I think that people take on the virus, how seriously they take the virus depends on how seriously it hits them. If they just get a little cough, they don't take it seriously. And it's unfortunate because this is sort of a disease that the success or failure of this disease is really predicated on how tight a community we are, And I'm just going to give you one example. This is from one of the nurses that I plan on having on a future broadcast. She basically set up a donor plasma. She's part of a donor plasma facility where basically people that have survived the coronavirus, like myself, and I'm going to participate in it. I'm just waiting on a call back. I got screened, I got accepted, and I'm waiting for the call back. But she was sharing that she had 5,000 applicants, and this was a couple of weeks ago, so it's probably even higher now, of people, and it's open to folks of all races, where they can donate their blood, their plasma, and that plasma can be donated to someone who's being hit harder. She said of those 5,000 applicants, zero were African American or people of color. And this is a situation where, I get that it's, if it's man-made, it's a conspiracy, they're trying to kill us. I get that. But we as a community have to do things to turn it around. Now, I'm not going to mandate that somebody has to, donate their plasma. You can do that if you want or if you want to. But I can tell you, as hard as that thing hit me, and how I know how bad, I didn't have to go to a hospital, but I know how hard it hit me. I felt it was only right for me to do my part as an African American, as a human, to donate my plasma if it could possibly help someone who's on an inhaler, stuck on that hospital bed at death's door. And it was disheartening to me to find out that out of 5,000 applicants, 0 were folks of color. And so my point is, it's great to point out the travesty of this thing possibly being manufactured. I'm gonna, leave that open for everybody else's interpretation. But the fact that we're not helping each other, I think that's even worse.
Why do you, Jay, why do you think it is that out of the 5,000 that no African Americans donated those who have recovered from this coronavirus, why do you think it is that none of these African Americans donated their blood plasma?
Probably because they're afraid of being experimented on and so on and so forth. But, I'm willing to take that risk, and I guess another thing we could get into is vaccines. Now, I take it, T. West, you have not caught the coronavirus. You stayed corona-free thus far, which is a blessing.
That's right. No, I haven't. I'm corona-free.
All right.
I definitely haven't caught the coronavirus.
That's great.
Now, but we can't ignore, and I'm sure you're not ignoring this, but for the listeners out there, we cannot ignore the fact and the reality that there is a very, very long history in this country, and even outside of this country, of medical apartheid being deployed and used against blacks in this country. We can list a lot of them. Of course, everybody knows, at least most people know, about the Tuskegee experiment. They know about these things.
I'm familiar with that,
Yeah, so these things do not engender trust among African Americans. Anytime you have a situation where I mentioned in the beginning of this program, where the World Health Organization, through a syringe, vaccinated men, women, and children in Africa, literally causing the infection of millions of people with HIV/AIDS in Africa. And then they lied about it. They never came clean about that. All right. And right now you have the World Health Organization, who is now kind of slapping the nation of Madagascar around a little bit because of this natural cure.
I just have to comment on, Regina, I respect your opinion. And, I don't know the color or the race or the creed of the person if I donate my plasma. But if I donate my plasma and it helps another person, a person of color, that's great. I mean, obviously, once they take my plasma, I can't dictate who it's given to. But I'm thinking, if I can save one person of color or otherwise, who's come down with the coronavirus, I'm willing to take that risk. And I guess, Seiko, if I don't make it back from making that donation, please run this show and send it to my lawyer so I can get the lawsuits up and running. But I'm willing.
Can I get your turntable?
No. I'll get. No, I'm just playing. But anyway, no. But I mean, I'm willing to whether it's like she's saying, devil or not. I feel compelled. Like I made it. And now that I've made it on the other side, she's going, no. Well, I've already been screened, but I'm not really trying to. If I can save one life, I think God will smile on me making that sacrifice. I guess the other thing, if you have something else you want to add, but I do have a follow-up question.
Yeah, and Jay, that's great. I mean, that's good. I understand. When you recovered from something, you're feeling good about it because, hey, it had you on your back. I understand. However, let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. Okay? Now, they get your blood plasma. You're a black man. Yeah. They get your blood plasma. One thing that they found out about Henrietta Lacks was that her cells never died. Okay? Black woman. First time ever.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cells never died.
Multiple.
Yeah, no cells.
That was an excellent HBO special that they did, that Oprah did. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, what I'm saying about that is this: is that they look at black folks up, down, all around. They're looking at your genetics, your genome, and for over 15 years, well, actually about 20 years now, if not a little more. Certain nations have been able to produce ethnic specific, or what some people call race specific weapons that hone in on certain genetic characteristics that are unique to a certain ethnic group. Let's say African Americans. Okay? Now, when they get, let's say, I'm playing devil's advocate here now.
That's
all
fine.
Right, now I understand the good part of it. If I can save one person's life, that's great. But what if your blood can also make it possible for those who are behind these bioweapons and all in these laboratories, for them to circumvent those of you who recovered? Okay, let's see. These are the blood antibodies. These are the chemical context or characteristics of Jay's blood. Okay, now let's see what SARS-3. Let's modify SARS-2 to become SARS-3.
They couldn't refine it.
So that it can now, Jay will not recover. Okay? Jay will, everybody like Jay of Jay's genotype will die. Okay? So there are dual purposes.
Yeah, and you know what? To co-sign what you're saying, I mean, prior to this,
co-sign?
What you were saying, I mean, I had, I was toying with the idea at one point of, giving my DNA to like all these Ancestry.com and all this other stuff that I kind of like, I was like, you know what? They might be doing something kind of funky with my DNA. So I kind of opted out of it, so I see your point. And then there's the human part of it. I mean, I get what you're saying. All I'm just saying is I get what you're saying. Now, let me ask one more question, sort of a follow-up question. Okay, so let's talk about vaccines. Okay. Right now, I am thinking about these future renditions of this virus. And I do have several members in my family that are dead set against, vaccines. What's your stance on vaccines? My stance right now is knowing how hard this thing can hit you. I know there's some risk, and I'm sure you're going to lay them out. But if you don't take it and you get hit with a more potent version of this virus, which you just brought up, it could be far more deadly if you avoid taking it than taking the risk of taking it. But I'm just laying it out there. I'm very open-minded. I'm really not on one side of the fence or other. But I just want to see what your take on vaccines is.
Well, that's a good question. The first thing when you are when you're encumbered with such a question, personally, the first thing that you should look at, you should do a little research and you should look at history. Okay? You should do a little study and a history on vaccines. Vaccines overall. Vaccines in black countries. Black vaccines. Okay? And then that should help you come to a decision. As I said, there were millions of Africans who were infected with HIV from a syringe, a vaccine. Okay? There was never any real compensation for all of that. They maintained the lie that you Africans, you all got it. And now you also got to talk about African Americans, because in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, Georgia, and many cities across America, African Americans have it at just as high and sometimes a higher rate than Africans in African countries. Okay? Now, some African Americans, y'all don't want me to say that. You don't want me to say it, but that's okay. I don't care. I don't give a damn, because when I said it in 1990, when I said it then, y'all didn't like it, and then it started killing even more of y'all because y'all did not deal with the reality of it being a bioweapon. Okay? So when you have organizations that have in the past wanted you erased, wanted you to disappear, but they wanted it to look like it was by some natural causing phenomena or by your own behavior. When you have Malthusians, followers of Robert Malthus, followers of Margaret Sanger, such as Bill Gates Sr. and his son, Bill Gates, and others, when you have a situation like that, when you look at the history of all these things, the Tuskegee experiment, they did not really apologize for that, because after some of these doctors with the National Institute of Health got through carrying out the same thing upon Guatemalan women. Okay? So when you cannot bring the culprits to justice, they will continually do what they're doing, and they will get worse and worse and worse. Okay? So when we aid them, if we assist them, then we're not doing ourselves a favor. So a vaccination? No, personally, I'm like, no, I don't need a vaccination. My grandmother lived to be 105, had 23 children, and she was never running to a doctor for a vaccination. Okay, that's my grandmother.
Okay. Just one footnote. As hard as this thing can hit people, on one side, you're presenting the fact that, we could be lab rats on somebody's table if we receive this vaccination. On the other side, if this vaccination, if you go without the vaccination, I'm thinking about my loved ones who are probably not going to do it. If they get hit with a second, third generation version of this virus, it's going to take them out, probably. If it's stronger than this, and this one was seriously trying to kill me. I was never sick of any virus and was afraid to go to sleep, thinking I wouldn't wake back up. So if you're I actually sent my sister, who's a nurse down in Virginia, my home address, just in case I didn't wake up. I wanted somebody to come get me or some medical attention to come my way. That's how hard this thing hit me. So I guess it's just, all I'm saying is it's a serious catch-22. On one side, you could be a lab rat. On the other side, you skip it, and Corona 2020, 21, 22 hits you. It's not something that you can necessarily skip. So I'm just going to say it's a serious catch-22 situation we're in.
Let me ask you a question, Jay.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a flu vaccine?
Occasionally, yes, but most of the time I try to avoid taking it.
Okay.
Most of the time I avoid taking it.
Thank you. I've never in my life taken a flu vaccine.
Yeah.
What I said in February when I first started talking about coronavirus, what I said was this. I said, they're not going to do this study, but they should do this study. All of those that they designate as having coronavirus or dying of COVID-19, how many of them had a flu vaccine? Okay, now I'm asking you, I'm bringing that up because you mentioned in the future, let's say on down in the future, 10 years from now, those
maybe not even 10 years from now. I'm talking about after the first vaccines come out and this thing's going to mutate. It's going to mutate immediately, you know?
Okay. All right.
And also it seems to have mutated up to 30 times. You know, like you said, if this thing is a bioweapon, it is doing its work. It mutated 30 times, up to 30 times without being introduced to anything to fight it. So this thing is going to super mutate once it actually gets introduced to a vaccine. All I'm saying is I think it's a huge catch-22 because, like you're bringing up the flu, and that's probably a good study to see if there's a connection between the flu virus and the coronavirus. But bottom line, this is not the flu virus.
Not the flu virus, the flu vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, the flu vaccine, right? The vaccine for the flu, right?
Yes. Now, my hypothesis is that there is a correlation. My hypothesis is you will find more people who had a flu vaccine in the past, that more of those than who did not have a flu vaccine, more of those people who had the flu vaccine are getting the coronavirus than those who did not have the flu vaccine.
You know, another study I'd like to see is if there's a correlation between those who are heavy drinkers and the COVID vaccine. You know, because you know,
you mentioned that.
Yeah,
you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody, like I said, has a different take on it, but you know, if judging by the studies and the research shows right now, as far as like the virus incubating in your body for, you know, anywhere from a few days up to 14 days before you actually start feeling symptoms. All I'm saying is that in my case, it was a very stark difference because I had stopped drinking for about 6 or 7 months. But so if I had the virus in my body for 5 or 6 days or what have you, I really didn't start getting hit with the virus really hard until one night that I slipped up and I had some drinks. And, you know, I don't know if you've heard any research about that, T West or Seiko, but I really do feel like, you know, there's a correlation between either drinking or at least at the very least, your body being dehydrated and the fact that this virus dehydrates the hell out of you. Okay. It wants you dehydrated.
Yeah. If it's heavy drinking, we all know that heavy drinking can cause sclerosis of the liver. Mm-hmm. We know that. Now, with the lungs, I don't know the effects of heavy drinking with the lungs. Okay, because this primarily, at least the early studies, was that it attacks the lungs. Okay, now they're discovering that it attacks more than the lungs in a lot of people. It's attacking heart. It's attacking the blood. It's attacking different things.
Yeah, it's attacking your feet. It's attacking everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's why I call it a Frankensteinian bioweapon. Mm-hmm. Meaning that as the Indians in India found, the Chinese have now concluded this also, that when they genetically sequenced this coronavirus, the SARS-2, they found traces of HIV and traces of Ebola in it. Okay. All right. So that's why I call it a Frankensteinian bioweapon. It has all these crazy characteristics of all that other bioweaponry that has been produced in laboratories in the past. And they put it in and made it like aerosoled it. In other words, it can spread through the air. And that was a psychopathic serial killer. That was their ideal weapon 30 years ago. They said, what if HIV/AIDS can be spread through the air? Oh boy, we would really be moving quicker towards our goal. Okay.
All right, so T-West, that begs the question. What's your background, man? What's your like? Do you have a background in warfare?
My background as a professional, I'm retired now, but my background came from information technology in the IT industry. Okay, but even there, even with that, I do a lot of things. Music, I do a lot of things. Anything I want to do, I put my mind to. I do it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so but that was my professional background, was in that area. Okay, so but I've always been a writer. I've always been a teacher. I've always done that. Always.
Okay. I guess you have such a wealth of knowledge or a wealth of opinion or wealth of facts, whatever you want to call it, that kind of points to maybe a background in the defense industry or something like that. That's the reason I asked that question. First of all, let me tell you this. You're watching the Fly Guy show. You can't hear me? Okay. You're watching the Fly Guy show. It's a series of melanated conversations. It's a series of melanated conversations focused on improving our situation. Tonight's conversation is, why are we dying the most in response to the COVID-19 situation? Why are we dying the most? I want to take the last 10 minutes that we have. And Jay, I know that you have some really strong opinions on things that can help people. And T-West, I want to get some of your opinions on things that can help people. Jay, you mentioned that that the disease really dehydrates you. Now, so T-West, do you think, and I want to go from T-West to Jay, do you think that the diet, maybe, that people of African descent here in America, that quote unquote black people eat primarily, which isn't the healthiest of diets, has been one of the factors that led us to having a higher disproportionate amount of struggling with this? What do you think, T-West?
Oh, definitely. What goes in your body has direct impact on how healthy you're going to be. That was long before this coronavirus came about. If you don't eat healthy, your body is not going to be as strong. Even if you come from a strong genetic line, your body is not going to be as strong. You need to eat sufficient vegetables, okay? Not just meat, okay? Mix that, throw your meat in with the vegetables. Eat a lot of vegetables, though. You need to do that. So it's important to do that. Don't be eating out all the time, okay? Because you don't know what other people put into the food. You don't know. Sometimes they put too much of this, too much salt or whatever in the food. So you need to cook at home more often. Okay, you need to do that instead of these generations. Last few generations have been a quickie generation. They're fast. They want to do things quickly and fast. Okay, and sometimes it kills a lot of people early. It sends a lot of people to an early grave because they don't slow down to think that you only have one body, only one body, and once you lose this body, you're not going to get another one. I mean, even Rockefeller, David Rockefeller discovered that after getting 5 hearts from other people, he finally died. Okay, you only got one body, and money can't buy you everything.
Yeah,
intriguing.
That's true.
Jay, DJ Wright, look, brother, you survived COVID-19, and I'm so thankful. I was praying for you, pouring libation. I was doing everything, bro. I was like, I need this brother to live. We gotta live. Can I live? Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you've done or that you did while struggling through this? Because maybe we can start doing more of that now. So, back to you.
Well, the connection that I was making earlier with T-West about alcohol and the coronavirus, and this is just my humble opinion, is that, the virus is a respiratory disease primarily. It does affect a lot more. As you can see, it's affecting kids with this Kawasaki disease, I believe. Is that what it's called? The Kawasaki disease the kids are catching? But anyway, the main thing is to just remain hydrated. And if you can lay off the alcohol, I know for those people that are quarantined, you want to have a little drink, a little libation to take the edge off and stuff like that. But I was drinking close to about a gallon of water a day. And I was actually doing this beforehand. And I do think that helps keep the phlegm in your chest, which wants to turn green and yellow and turn into pneumonia with this virus. I do believe that hydrating with as much as of a gallon as you could take a day, to help keep your phlegm clear in your chest and also keep it clear. Once it starts turning yellow and green, then you're probably going to be in trouble. And I was able to use that simple practice, and it helped keep me out of the hospital. You'd be amazed at how much this can help. Unfortunately, with us, when we get sick, and if we don't have full medical coverage, which could be another reason we didn't really touch on that, is, we tend to turn to alcohol to fight. It's poor man's medicine, so to speak. We want to hit that liquor cabinet. So like I said, please lay off it, because this coronavirus actually loves a dehydrated body. The other thing is, and I agree, we don't work out, eat healthy, so that's good. You're a gym rat. Thank you, Regina. That's good. A lot of people, we need to get back into exercising and stuff like that. Social distancing and exercising. Finally, this neti pot really did help me out greatly. You don't have to use this whole thing. You can use a little bit of it. You just pour it in your nose, left and right nostril, a little bit. This would last me about 2 or 3 days. Or you could just go to CVS, Walgreens, or any Dwayne Reed, whatever's near your house, and just get a nasal rinse. And that helps. And finally, the last thing is steaming. Huge thing. The virus dies at 77 degrees. So what I was doing was I was taking a pot, I'm using this cup as an example, put a towel over my head, drape my towel over the edge of the pot or cup, and then I just inhaled it after boiling the water, as hot as I could get it, and inhaling it through your nostrils and then into your lungs. All of that, I believe, helps keep you out of the hospital.
I know you've dealt with some medical professionals since you've recovered from COVID. Yeah. Did they give any credence to the strategies that you just talked about employing?
Well, yeah, my sister has been using the neti pot or nasal rinse procedure for 29 years with her kids. Anytime she felt like her kids were getting sick, she would say, get that nasal rinse. And the nasal rinse, you could buy like a little spray it into your nose or whatever. And I mean, the bottom line is, and this is something that I just will keep repeating until I drop, is if they're telling you to wash your hands because you're going to touch your nose, why isn't the mainstream media telling you to rinse your nose? Why? It doesn't make any sense. That's where the virus wants to get. It's harmless on your hands. It kills you if it can get into your nose. And for those people that aren't having severe symptoms, please, for the sake of others, your other brothers and sisters, take it seriously. Just because it hits you mildly doesn't mean that, it's going to hit everybody else just the same. And finally, I mean, I am, and I'll keep everybody abreast. If you hear me disappearing, or if you see, anything, black seed oil, I have that as well. I use that on the back end. I wasn't up on the black seed oil until then, but I do plan on still donating my plasma. I'll keep you guys abreast of how it goes. If I could save one person, black, blue, green, whatever, that's what I'm gonna do. So
all right. So T West, any last comments? I'll tell you what. With your last comments, why don't you tell people about your channel and what you deal with? Because you deal with some phenomenal, mind-blowing, eye-opening, interesting. Is it a conspiracy theory? Is it the truth? It's one of those types of channels, man, and I love it. So tell people where they can find you, what you bring to the table. Go.
Well, okay. Well, T West, Afrisynergy News. You can find me out on Facebook. You can find me out there on YouTube and on Twitter. And what we deal with is truth in media, not conspiracy, but the truth. That's what we deal with. And when you have the truth, that means that you should be able to produce multiple sources to support what you are presenting. So that's what we do on the Afrisynergy News Channel. We cover it, whether it's domestic, politics, social issues, or international. We deal with the geopolitics as well around the world. Later this month, I'll be on a panel, and we will be dealing with things that pertain to Africa. Okay, so we deal with all of it. And that's what we have to do, because we as Black people, no matter where we are in the world, we're in this together, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. And there are African solutions to some of these things. What Madagascar is doing and what they produce there, that's a good thing. When you look at the number of people who have died in Madagascar from coronavirus, one person died there. One person. Wow. Right, only one. And they have what they call, some of them are calling it a cure, others are saying it's a treatment, and it's all natural. Well, that's a good thing. That means you're not putting any kind of harmful chemicals into your bodies with a syringe and needle and all. So that's a good thing. And that's something that, dark-skinned people like us came up with. And the World Health Organization, they have a problem with it because, where's the money at in this? We can't make no money. CDC, they make money off of all of this. They make a huge amount of money. The three most profitable industries in the world. The three most. Banking, finance, oil and gas, and
healthcare.
What is it?
Healthcare. Or pharmaceutical, pharmacy, medicines, non-natural medicines. Yeah.
That's right. Big pharma, right?
Yeah.
Left Microsoft board because he can make a hell of a lot more money with these vaccines and the pharmaceutical, this dope stuff, than he can with software.
And he still hasn't been able to cure the virus on my laptop, but he's not yet until he thinks he can cure me of a deadly virus. Get the virus off my laptop, Bill Gates. Please.
Beautiful, Jay.
All right. So, hey, look, I want to wrap up. You've been listening to the Fly Guy Show. You've been watching the Fly Guy Show. It's a series of melanated conversations focused on improving our situation. Today, we were really honored to have this guy at the very end, the Honorable T. West from Afrisynergy News. I tell you, when you listen to his stuff, the first time you're going to be like, oh, this dude's out of his mind. The second time you're like, wow, he has some facts behind him. And after that, you're going to be a fan. So check out his information. And Jay and I, we've been doing shows for a while, and we're going to continue doing shows. We want to help as many people as possible, particularly since you're a COVID survivor. We want to make sure we have more COVID survivors. So any last words?
I also want to get some more medical professionals to discuss some of the things that, just to come from a medical standpoint, to back up the facts that were expressed on this show. I think that's just an important avenue to take when you're dealing with something that's this serious. And also, and that's it.
And with that, we're going to end. We went over our hour. Hopefully, everyone who watched, they found some value in this. Hey, check us out on Facebook under Forward Ever. Forward Ever is our Facebook page. We're not the only ones who contribute to Forward Ever, so you're going to get a plethora of great information that will help you move forward. And on YouTube, Our Black Improvement. We're focused not just on Blacks, but we're targeted for people of African descent, using that term Black. We're not stupid. We're not talking about a crayon color. We don't think we come from a city, a country, a town called Black. All that stupidity, we're not down with that. So check us out, Forward Ever on Facebook, YouTube, Our Black Improvement. We want to thank Brother T. West for tapping in again. You guys have a great night. Be healthy. Stay away from mucus-producing foods. Eat healthy, go to the gym, be a gym rat like, what's her name, Regina Brown? She says she's a gym rat.
Regina ain't playing.
Go take a walk, bro. Go take a walk. Peace.
All right, peace.
Stay fly, 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 stay fly.
The views expressed by the guests are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree. Unless explicitly stated.
Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay
fly. Stay conscious. Stay fly.